Hi everyone, good morning. Today is 20th of December and I welcome you all to the Hindu newspaper analysis discussion. In this particular video, we are going to discuss entire analysis of Hindu. We'll take all articles which are there in the newspaper with respect to our UPSC examination. And guys, also I would like to tell you that if you want, you can download explainer notes of this particular session. In this particular notes, we have taken up all the articles along with their background, as well as we have rearranged this particular article with respect to the UPSC exam needs. So you can download these notes from our Telegram channel. Link for Telegram is given in description box in YouTube. Now, first of all, before starting, let's take overview of the newspaper so that you can understand that which articles are important in today's newspaper and what is the placement of such articles. So let's take the overview. So here we have Delhi edition of Hindu newspaper, and on first page we have this article: suspension continues. 49 more MPs have now faced action. Now guys, we see this particular thing that in this particular session, in this particular ongoing winter session, MPs have been suspended continuously. They have been suspended because they have asked the government to give details with respect to the house breach that has happened. Few people entered the parliament, and now we have seen that 141 MPs in total, they have been suspended, and these MPs are from opposition party. Okay, now this is historic. Never so many MPs have been suspended. Now there are two type of viewpoints that are coming in this particular direction. One viewpoint is this, that unruly MPs who don't maintain the decorum in house, they should be suspended, and this will serve as a reminder to such MPs. One. But on another hand, there is also one more argument that is coming, is that parliament needs to be the house of discussion and deliberation, and without opposition, how such a discussion and deliberation will happen. And we have seen that post suspension telecommunication bill was brought in house, and now we have seen that the three criminal law bills that have been brought in order to replace Indian Evidence Act, Criminal Procedure Act, IPC, they are being discussed, they are being passed without presence of 141 MPs. So therefore, it is being said that it is a kind of a democratic backsliding. Okay. However, I will not advise you to go too much in detail in this particular article, but one opinion that I just discussed, you need to have that particular thing. Then moving on, Tamil Nadu minister convicted, face disqualification. Okay. Then moving on, guys. After that, we have IPL auction and all such kind of things. Okay. Host last minute withdrawal leaves historic science congress in lurch. So lovely professional university who was to host it has backed out. But for examination, nothing much important is given. Then guys, we have the political article here in the regional section. Okay, so we will directly skip it up. Then there are these advertisements, etc. Nothing much relevant has been given in this particular section. Okay, so we will directly skip and we'll reach to editorial page. Okay, we'll reach to editorial page. Now, so guys, as we reach the editorial page, first article that we have, deep import of Article 370 verdict. Now, guys, understand one particular thing very carefully, that we have seen that recently Supreme Court has given judgment with respect to Article 370. Now there are going to be many commentaries on the judgment as such, that what will happen of the people of Ladakh, what will be the impact on the people of Kashmir, all such commentaries, that Supreme Court should have looked in that, Supreme Court should have referred to that particular matter. These commentaries are going to be there. Now understand this thing, that we are not aspiring for the law exam here, and such deep commentaries on a particular aspect often are not important for our examination. Now, one thing with respect to Article 370, its history, 2019, what happened, and the present judgment, I had made a dedicated video on that thing. So if you have not followed Article 370 related development, please watch that video. It will cover all the things. But everyday commentaries that will come on Supreme Court judgment, that is not important for examinations, and often they happen to be more political in nature. So I will not advise you to go too much in this particular article. Then this particular article, incoming call, it talks about the telecom bill that has come. Then next we have this article, tax HFSS foods, that is the high fat sugar salt foods, which are becoming a big concern for the lifestyle diseases. So high taxations, etc. should be imposed. We'll see this particular article for examination. Then turbulence in south. So this article talks about surplus rains that have recently happened in Tamil Nadu. Okay, then moving on, India's ethanol conundrun. We will take this particular article for examination. Then further moving on, a new record set with suspension of 141 MPs in a signal session. So the article is talking about that how many MPs are from different states, political parties, and all such things are being provided. Okay, then moving on, text and context. So guys, in text and context, we have some days good articles, but today article that we have is Dharavi revamp in turmoil. So basically Dharavi, which is a slum in Mumbai. So Dharavi slums redevelopment project was to be taken up, and for the redevelopment of Dharavi, the tender has been given to Adani. Tender has been given to Adani Group. Now it has been said that favoritism has happened, and without due diligence or such kind of a things, Adani Group has been given this particular project. So these protests are going on. So basically it is analyzing all these particular things, that what is the BJP's view, what is Shiv Sena's view, what are other political parties' view. Now again guys, such kind of a political controversies are not important, that why Adani Group was chosen, all such things. So I will not advise you again to go in this particular article for examination. Then further moving on, text and context, revolutionizing interfaces, journey of touch screen. Okay, touch screen, how it has evolved. Then women MPs of BJP seek more time to discuss criminal law bill. So already 141 MPs have been suspended, and there seems to be kind of a hurry. So MPs have said that we need more time to discuss that. Then further moving on, we have largely political articles here. The entire section is filled with the political articles tenders. Here we have an article, Netanyahu calls Modi to discuss maritime threat in Red Sea. We will take this particular article for examination. Okay, House panel doubts centers data on lumpy skin disease. Okay, then further moving on, again we have the political articles here. Fine. Then corporate trends, SpiceJet expresses interest in Go First. Okay, Sony Z extension of deadline. Okay, states can borrow extra 2 lakh crore rupees this fiscal year. So guys, understand this particular thing, that when we talk about the state governments borrowing money, fine, on there are certain limitations and restrictions that are there. However, sometimes the central government gives relaxation to states to borrow more money if they follow certain of the directives or advices. So basically guys, what has happened, the states, they were required, the states were required to meet their pension liabilities under the national pension system. After that they were allowed. So, so states who have done that, they can borrow more. Okay, then we have sports world, then we have this world page. US launches multinational push to protect Red Sea from Houthi strikes. We'll take this particular article. So there is two article, one article, this one, and also there was one more article. Netanyahu calls Modi to discuss maritime threat in Red Sea. We'll see that what has come here. Then further moving on guys, we have the sports section. Okay, and in science page today, the article that has been published is measuring scientist productivity with numbers undermines the science. So what has happened recently, Stanford University has published a rank or a list of top 2% scientists. Now what criteria they have used? They have used the citations. Now what are the parameters on whose basis citations will be judged? Okay, and all such things are being discussed. Now understand this particular thing guys, that when we talk about this science particular section, I have told you many number of times that within science, for GS paper number 3 as well as prelims, science and technology, its applications in everyday life, okay, some emerging technologies which will have a dedicated impact on health, environment, all such kind of things are important. But such issues are not important for our science and technology section. That Stanford University's new method of ranking the scientist, what parameters are there, you need not to go in that much nitty-gritties. Okay, so that is all guys about the entire newspaper for today. Now guys, I show you overview every day so that you get a sense of confidence that okay, we have taken the, we have glanced the entire newspaper, fine, and we are not doing some arbitrary selective study. Now one thing I want to tell you guys, that in today's newspaper we don't have that many relevant articles, okay, which we have usually, fine. So sometimes this will happen, there will be few articles. So today we have less number of relevant articles. So let's start with their discussion. Okay, so every class we start with the GS quotation. Now today we are going to take GS quotation from Malala Yousafzai, who also has been the winner of the Nobel Prize. So Malala Yousafzai, she says extremists have shown what frightens them the most. A girl with a book. A girl with a book. Fine. So extremists, they have shown that they are frightened with by a girl with a book. So what this girl and a book means? Girl with a book means empowered women. Girl with a books means empowered women. Empowered women. Now often guys, we have seen this particular thing that the extremist, they have very radical and dogmatic kind of ideologies, and in that gender subjugation happens to be one of the contributing factor in some of the radicalist and extremist groups. But when such thing is being questioned by the empowered women, educated women, that is something which they cannot bear. So this quotation can be used as a content in our essay paper, because nowadays philosophy based essays are coming. So you can use this particular idea also, how gender empowerment can be an antidote to extremism. Fine, there also you can use it. So this is about the quotation for today. And now let's take first article. Okay, so we have this particular article, tax HFSS foods. Okay, and we'll take this particular article with respect to GS paper number 2 health as well as GS paper number 3. GS paper number 2 health as well as GS paper number 3. Now before going in detail of this particular article, let me give you some basic background information so that you can make more sense of this particular article as such. So basically guys, Lancet Health Journal has referred to non-communicable diseases. Fine, Lancet Health Journal has referred to non-communicable disease as silent killers. Okay. Now guys, when we talk about the non-communicable diseases, today we find that non-communicable diseases in a big numbers, they are attributable to poor lifestyles. Now in poor lifestyle, we have sedentary lifestyle. We often in poor lifestyle have poor food choices that we are making, and in these poor food choices we often consume a lot of junk food. We consume a lot of ultra processed food, and these ultra processed foods have high content of sugar, which directly pose the danger of diabetes. They have high content of fats, often trans fats are there in these ultra processed foods, which further leads to the cardiovascular diseases. Often we see these particular things, that these particular foods, they have empty calories. What do you mean by empty calorie? Now just understand this particular thing guys. Suppose you eat a packet of chips. Now in these packet of chips, there will be around 550 to 600 calories. You consume 550 to 600 calories, but you don't feel that your hunger has been satiated, but you have consumed those 600 calories. At the same time, you consume a healthy, balanced diet having 600 calories, okay? You will feel satisfied, you will feel satiated, you feel that you are nourished. Okay, so often these ultra processed foods, they have a lot of calories, but you don't feel satisfaction while you are eating them. Okay, happens, they over a period of time leads to obesity, they leads to diabetes, they leads to cardiovascular diseases, and today people are getting impacted by them. See, this is a fact that today more number of people are being killed by sugary drinks than the alcohol. Fine, why? Let's understand this particular thing. So basically guys, what has happened, World Bank report of 2019, World Bank of 2019 report, it has provided this particular thing that 70% of the obese and overweight people, they are living in the low and middle income countries, LMIC, such as India, Bangladesh, Pakistan, low and middle income countries, they are living. And it has been provided that 55% increase in the population of overweight and obese people has happened in the rural areas. Now, why this World Bank report is important? Because often there is a myth that obesity is a problem of rich world. Obesity, overweight is a problem of affluent people living in urban areas. But no, that is not the case. It impacts the low middle income group countries, and also highest rise has been in rural parts of the world. So we see this particular thing, that this is an emerging health challenge that has been there. Now guys, when we talk about the non-communicable diseases, I told you already Lancet Health Journal has called them as a silent killers. So there is drastic increase in non-communicable diseases, and it has been provided that non-communicable disease burden has increased from 38% in 1990, 38% 1990 to 65% in 2019. And we also see this particular thing that 1.2 million deaths in India, 1.2 million deaths in India, they can just be attributed to dietary risks, means you consuming fat, you consuming food having trans fats, you consuming food having excess sugar. Such kind of food is directly contributing to 1.2 million deaths in India. Now, moving on in this particular capacity. Now, guys, when we talk about the ultra processed food sector, fine, such as now ultra processed foods, it it consists of the namkeen, the sweetened drinks such as colas, okay, maza, all such kind of things. So this ultra processed food sector, it has grown rapidly over the last few years, and a very big reason is that changing lifestyles. Today people, they don't prefer cooking too much, they culture of snacking has increased, and because of that the ultra processed food sector, companies selling these foods, they have seen exorbitant growth. For example, ultra processed food sector has witnessed a growth of 13.4%. This is a compounded annual growth rate, 13.4% between 2011 to 2021, which is huge. Also, we find this particular thing that 50 to 60% of edible sugar oil that is being produced in the country, find 50 to 60% of edible sugar, salt, fat that is being produced, it is just consumed by the processed food sector. Okay, so therefore we see this particular thing that there is so much rapid growth in ultra processed food segment that it needs to be controlled. Now, globally, guys, what has happened, how this particular trend is being dealt. So countries, they have increased taxation on ultra processed foods so that consumers don't consume that much. So to discourage the consumption, high taxation rates have been imposed. For example, 16 countries such as Denmark, France, Hungary, Mexico, South Africa, UK, US, what they have done, they have dedicated tax on high fat, salt, sugar foods, dedicated taxes there on them. Now guys, understand this particular thing, that we often see that consumers, they are very much sensitive to price. And suppose if a chips packet was earlier 10 rupees, now government decided to impose a dedicated tax and let's say it becomes 15 rupees, a large number of people will be discouraged to buy that. So price interventions have been done, fiscal interventions have been done. Now, it has been provided that in fact, even in the case of India, we have Kerala's example. In the case of India, we have Kerala's example. So what Kerala did? So Kerala in 2016 introduced fat tax. Kerala in 2016 introduced fat tax. Now this particular fat tax was dedicatedly imposed on the high fat, high sugar foods. It got discontinued with the coming of GST. Okay, and today we don't have such a dedicated tax in India. Now it is being provided that when we talk about these food items, they have both. They have negative externalities. They have negative externalities. Number one, negative externalities. Society will be burdened. How society will be burdened? When more people will be dealing with the non-communicable diseases, government has to spend a lot of money on that healthcare. This particular money could have been used for asset creation, could have been used for education, but now a lot of money has to be spent for healthcare. For example, we have Ayushman Bharat Abhiyan, which provides the 5 lakh rupees health insurance. So money have to be put in those kind of schemes. Now, we are not saying that you should not put, but point is that always prevention is better than cure. If people will be healthy, if they are consuming healthy diets, okay, a large health expenditure could be saved. Okay, also guys, understand this particular thing, that internalities are also there. What happens, consumers often have limited understanding of the food that they are eating, how it is impacting their health. Marketing companies are selling unhealthy foods, people don't have knowledge, and unknowingly they are harming their health. For example guys, often we think that that there are these packed juices, okay, that are being sold in the market, they are healthy alternative to cold drinks and the soft drinks, but please try reading the label behind that and see the amount of sugar, amount of sucrose that is there, and see how much percentage of real fruit has been used, and you will know that there are no healthier substitutes, but people don't have that knowledge. Okay, So the point is that aggressive marketing by these particular companies are harming the health of people. Fine. Now tax interventions can be used. Tax interventions can be used. Now let's understand this particular thing more clearly. So basically, now guys, when we talk about the GST, we have seen that within the GST there is a highest tax bracket of 28%, and sin goods such as the soft drinks, aerated drinks such as the cold drinks, they have been brought into the 28% tax bracket. Okay, and certain tobacco goods, alcohol, they all have been brought into the 28% tax bracket. But guys, understand this particular thing, that there are certain other food options also, the salty snacks, which have not been adequately taxed in India. For example, for examples, salty snacks, salty snacks such as chips, namkeen, salty snacks, ultra processed foods such as no salty snacks, fine, sugar sweetened beverages such as the juices, maza, fruities, etc. Okay, now these things are not nutritional in any way. Okay, but large number of snacks, for example, juices, they are being taxed at 12% in 12% tax rate. Okay, salty snacks, they are being taxed at 12% of the tax rate. So point is that taxes on these kind of goods are not high enough to discourage the consumption. Moreover guys, understand this particular thing, snack companies in India also, because such high taxations are not there, they are making these ultra processed foods which are very much addictive. If suppose you say that healthy food options we will be taxing at 12%, but ultra processed or the food items having content above a particular threshold limit, we will charging 28% tax, and plus 30% additional tax will also be imposed on that. What will happen? Companies, as such high taxes are there, products will become expensive, profitability will go down. These companies will then be forced to innovate into the healthy food section. They will be forced to innovate in the healthy food section. Okay, so therefore we should use this particular taxation as two-way tool. Number one, by high taxation consumers will be discouraged, and secondly, by these high taxation food companies will also innovate and will try to come out with the healthier alternatives of the food. So these high taxes, they can act as a deterrent to consuming the high fat, salt, sugar food. They will promote healthier choices and will prompt manufacturers to reformulate their food. So this is something that is to be done, and then there should be effective food labeling also, that should be there. Effective food labeling should also be there. Now guys, understand this particular thing, that when we talk about the effective food labeling, number one, a very big concern is that often people, either they don't read food labels, or even if they read food labels, they are not able to make sense of a lot of things that are there. For example, if sugar is written, they'll understand that okay, this is sugar. But if maltodextrose is written, sucrose is written, fructose is written, they will not be able to understand that what exactly it means. Is it healthy or is it unhealthy? So nutritional education is to be given. Food labels need to be made more simple. Also, in certain European countries, for example, Germany, etc., what they have done, they have come out with the rating criteria. For example, 5 star means 5 star means healthy food. 4 star means less healthy. 2 star means even lesser healthy junk food. 1 star means that ultra processed, having no nutritional value. So on the food, we need to categorize them on this particular star rating as being done in European countries. So this is something that can be done in this particular direction. So this is guys all about this particular article, and now we'll move to next article. Now we'll move to next article. Okay, so we have this particular article, India's ethanol conundrun. India's ethanol conundrun. We'll take this particular article with respect to GS paper number 3, energy. GS paper number 3, energy sector. Now, let's take this particular article. Okay, before going in this particular article, guys, let's understand some basic background information and then we'll go in this article. Now, when we talk about India, around 84% of energy. Now see, India has huge energy dependence on the other countries. Now we are importing 84% of our oil and gas demand. 84% of our oil and gas demand, it is met by imports. It is met by imports. And when we are importing so much of oil and gas, what is happening? We have become energy dependent on another nations. We often, as we are paying a lot of foreign exchange for buying so much of the oil and gas, it impacts India's current account deficit in a negative way. Okay. Also, guys, what is happening, as we are burning so much of crude oil, as we are burning so much of oil and gas, it leads to high carbon emissions also. So therefore, what governments around the world are doing, they are moving towards ethanol blending of petrol. They are moving towards ethanol blending of petrol. Okay. So as if you blend ethanol with the petrol, what happens? It, first of all, as you are blending ethanol with the petrol, let me give you an example. Suppose 1000 milliliter petrol is there. Now, when you will burn this 1000 milliliter of petrol in the car, obviously it will lead to certain carbon emissions. But let's say what I do, I will blend this particular 1000 ml petrol with 20% ethanol. For example, what I did, 800 ml petrol and 200 ml ethanol. Fine. Now, when I will consume this particular fuel, what will happen? Carbon emissions will be of this 800 milliliter. So effectively emissions will go down. Okay. Also, what happens? This ethanol blended fuel also have high octane value, so it gives better performance. Fine. Thirdly, as ethanol can be manufactured within the country, what will happen? Absolute import, the oil that we are importing from the other countries, its demand will fine. Suppose earlier you were importing 100 liters of fuel. Now you have to import just 80 liters of fuel. So what will happen? Our import dependency will go down. Our current account deficit that was impacted negatively by such high imports, that will also get some relief. So therefore, ethanol blending is something that we are moving in. Now, when we talk about ethanol blending in the context of India, understand this particular thing, that ethanol blending petroleum, it increased from just 1.6% to 11.8% in 2022-23. And we have already come out with 20 by 2025 strategy for ethanol. Means 20% ethanol blending target is to be reached by 2025. So in the fuel, 20% ethanol blending is to be done by 2025. It means we need to manufacture more and more ethanol. Now guys, when we talk about ethanol, what happens? Largely in India, ethanol is manufactured by sugarcane. So basically, the sugars, molasses, once you have extracted the sugarcane juice, molasses, leftovers, they can be used to manufacture ethanol. And a lot of ethanol in India is being manufactured by sugarcane. Now guys, what has happened? In 22-23, we have seen this particular thing, that India has seen low sugar stocks. Okay, and sugarcane production also has been fallen down. In a way, it has impacted ethanol. Okay, so we are going to analyze this particular topic, and as ethanol production has went down, the sugar supply in India has went down. What has happened? Government is now looking towards the grain-based ethanol for meeting the target. Now, what is this grain-based ethanol? Now, grain-based ethanol is that certain type of grains such as maize, they can be used to make ethanol. Now, guys, when we talk about ethanol production, fine, we have, for example, USA. USA manufactures majority of their ethanol by corn. Okay, we have example of Brazil. Brazil manufactures majority of their ethanol by sugarcane. India also manufactures majority of ethanol by the sugarcane. So you can use sugarcane, you can use corn. Now understand this particular thing, that we find that post 2000 ethanol production in the world has increased. Why ethanol production has increased? Because post 2000, particularly between 2004 to 2014, crude oil prices, they skyrocketed. And as crude oil prices were so high, some cheaper alternative was needed. So therefore, countries moved towards ethanol production, and therefore ethanol production reached the high. But what actually happened post 2014, crude oil prices have started to come down. Now, as crude oil prices started to come down, ethanol did not stay that lucrative. Ethanol did not stay that lucrative. Now, understand this particular thing, that guys, when we talk about ethanol, understand this particular thing. When we talk about ethanol, making ethanol is a slow process, and always making ethanol will lead to some food security challenges also. For example, when we talk about sugarcane, in the case of sugarcane, we make ethanol by using molasses, okay, which is a kind of a waste product. So therefore, it is not a big challenge if you are using sugarcane. But we talk about the USA. In USA's case, they make ethanol by corn. Okay, so certain food crops such as the corn, it is being used. Now, when we talk about the corn, in USA, corn is consumed as a food also. However, more than food, corn is consumed as a livestock. Okay, now the corn production is limited. You can give that particular corn as a livestock to the livestock as a food, or you can use that particular corn to make ethanol. Now, when you are taking that when you are taking that corn, and rather than giving it to livestock animal for consumption, when you are using it for making ethanol, what happened? Livestock availability, it has went down. And what farmers are doing, what people are doing, rather than feeding corn to the animals, they are feeding other food crops. Okay, and what has happened? Price have went up. Food inflation has become a very big problem. Food inflation has become a very big problem. So post 2014, global crude oil prices have fell below $80 per barrel. And now what happens? Making ethanol is not that much lucrative. So countries again started to shift towards the crude oil consumption. Now, when we talk about India, I told you that in countries such as Brazil, India, we use sugarcane molasses. We use sugarcane molasses. So that food versus fuel dilemma has not become that big in the case of India. Okay, in the case of India. But guys, actually there is other problem then. There is other problem then. As we are using sugarcane, you know this particular thing, that sugarcane is a water intensive crop. It's a water intensive crop, and many areas where water is not that much available, still farmers are growing sugarcane, okay, by using the groundwater table. So FRP, fair remunerative price, is given for the sugarcane, and often there is there is very good FRP. There is very good FRP that is given. It incentivizes the farmer to grow sugarcane. Okay, so therefore, what is happening? It has led to the degradation of the water table in India. This is one challenge that has come out. This is the one challenge that has come out. Then second challenge, guys, that has been there is that I told you that India has taken the target that 20% ethanol blending by 2025 will be achieved. 20% ethanol blending by 2025 is to be achieved. For that, we need a lot of ethanol. But there is a particular limitation that how much ethanol you can derive out of molasses. Okay, so basically what has happened since 2017-18, government has started to give incentives, and in fact they have allowed to make ethanol directly from the sugarcane juice. The government had allowed to make ethanol directly from the sugarcane juice. Now earlier you are using molasses, means sugar has already been made and waste left over you are using, but now directly sugarcane juice is being used. So what will happen? Sugar production will fall down. Sugar production will fall down. And what happened? Mills, they completely abandoned the sustainable molasses route. Okay, and because of this particular thing, sugar stocks in the countries have declined, and now the Ministry of Consumer Affairs is banning the use of cane juice for ethanol production. Now they are banning the sugarcane juice for ethanol production, but they have opened up another problem. What another problem has now opened up? Now they are directing that let's explore the grain-based ethanol. Means maize will now be used for making the ethanol. Again, it will bring the same challenge as it has happened in the USA. So basically, it is being provided that when we talk about the target of 2025, that is 20% ethanol blending, for that particular thing, 16.5 million ton of food grains annually will be needed. 16.5 million ton of food grains will be needed. Obviously, if you divert this food grain for production of fuel, it will lead to food insecurity. So therefore, what article suggests? Article suggests this particular thing, that rather than moving in this particular direction, we should explore other alternatives. For example, EV, electric cars, solar panels for electricity, all such kind of things, okay, are to be explored more. So this is, guys, all about this particular article. And now we'll move to next article. So we have this article, Netanyahu calls Modi to discuss maritime threat in Red Sea. Okay, and also one more similar article was there in the world page. I have clubbed both these particular articles. We'll take this particular article with respect to the mapping and GS paper number 2. Okay. Now guys, before going in this particular article, let's uh, let's analyze the map first. First of all, before going in this article, I would like to tell you some basic background information. So what happened, we have seen that in October, 7th of October, Hamas carried attack on Israel. And in response, Israel has started counter attack on Hamas in the Gaza region. And because of this particular counterattacks, thousands of people, including children, civilians, they have died in Gaza region. And sympathy in the Gulf world has started to increase towards the Palestinian people living in Gaza. And recently one development has happened, and we discussed it also. What actually has happened now? Here you can see we have Yemen. Here we have Yemen. Just a minute. Okay. So here we have Yemen. Okay. Here we have Israel. Here we have Israel. Fine. Here we have Suez Canal. Okay. Now here you have Babel Mandab. Babel Mandab. Now Babel Mandab is an important strait. By which we get access in the Red Sea. And through the Red Sea we will reach Suez Canal, and through the Suez Canal then will approach towards the Europe. Now this particular Red Sea route is an important route for connecting Europe with the Asia. And we can see that Yemen is sitting as a very strategic location, that is they are directly overlooking Bab el Mandab, this particular strait from which you will enter Red Sea. Now we find that there are Houthi rebels that are present in Yemen. And Houthi rebels, they have shown their direct support to people of Gaza, to the Palestine, they have shown their direct support. And now as Israel is attacking Gaza, it is killing the people it is killing the Palestinian people. Houthis, they have said that we will take revenge. And Houthis have said that we will not allow the Israeli ships to pass from this particular region, and they have started attacking the ship carriers which are either going to Israel or which have come from Israel. And by this particular thing, what is happening, naval isolation, okay, of Israel is being done by Houthi rebels. Fine. So what has happened in this particular context? Prime Minister of India, Mr. Modi, has discussed this particular matter with Israeli Prime Minister Mr. Netanyahu, and they have talked on this particular thing. Now see, India's position in this particular matter has been very clear from the start. India says this particular thing, that this matter needs to be resolved with negotiations and discussions. Violence has no place. Okay, violence, disruption of law and order has no place. This is India's position, and India has said the same thing again. Now what has happened, guys? Because of this particular development, USA has started an international mission to counter the attacks against Israel bound international traffic. And this particular mission that they have started, they have called it as Operation Prosperity Guardian. So guys, often USA have started these kind of missions such as Inherent Resolve. Okay, so this is Operation Prosperity Guardian. Now prelims question on this particular line can be asked. For example, they can ask that recently Operation Prosperity Guardian was in news. It is in context to, they'll give you 4 options. It is in context to Afghanistan, it is in context of Africa. Fine, such kind of an options. So Operation Prosperity Guardian. Now this particular operation, it is a multinational security initiative, means there are multiple countries that are involved. And who are the participants in this Operation Prosperity Guardian? So it is being led by UK, Bahrain, Canada, France, Italy, Netherlands, Norway, Spain, Seychelles, and USA. Also USA has called on the United Nations Security Council UNSC to act against the Houthi militants who are attacking on Israeli bound ships. Are you getting it or not? So this is something that has happened. So around this Babel Mandab, around this particular Babel Mandab, the instability that is coming for reducing it down, this particular development has happened, and Israel has also discussed the matter with India. So this is, guys, all about this particular article. Okay, fine. Then, guys, there is this one article also in the editorial section, incoming call. Now this particular article is just talking about the telecommunication bill 2023 that has been brought in the parliament 2 days back. Now, guys, I have read this entire article, but by reading this article you will not get much of a clarity about this telecommunication bill. Okay, a kind of a snippet thing just have been given. So rather than reading this particular newspaper, what I will advise, yesterday, that is on 19th of December, I have covered this telecom bill in detail in our newspaper analysis discussion video, and there I covered this telecom bill not from the point of view which was reported in Hindu, but I have referred the other newspapers such as Hindustan Times, Indian Express also, and I have made this particular detailed note, and I explained all the major provisions in the yesterday's newspaper. So guys, I will advise you that if you have watched the yesterday's newspaper, not at all a problem, no need to go in this article. But if you have not watched, please go and watch the yesterday's newspaper first article, and if you don't want to watch, just read this particular snippet that I shared for yesterday. Okay, so this is about it. Now guys, mains practice question for today. Okay, the future of India's renewable strategy hangs on a delicate food fuel trade-off and a choice between intensifying hunger and reducing fossil fuel use. Comment. So this will be a GS paper number 3, 10 marker question. Okay, so that is all, guys, about it, and I hope that you have understood it. With this, we come to an end to the today's session. Now guys, we'll be meeting tomorrow, and if you have liked the video, please do hit the like button, and also please do subscribe to the channel. Thank you so much.